Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Morgan.
This is really exciting because this is our first real recorded session for our new project, Closer. Maybe we can just start by saying who we are and what we're doing. And I think this first episode is going to just be really casual, just like we're saying, a conversation between you and I, but letting people know who we are in this Patreon project.
Yeah, exactly. I think this first episode, we wanted to talk about who we are and why we're doing what we're doing, and um, hopefully hype up what the upcoming conversations will be.
Yes.
Um, my name is Kevin Lucy. For those of you that don't know me, I'm an artist, educator, designer, and curator. I established myself as those things throughout the past 10 years, living in the Boston area, especially in my time working as a assistant director of the galleries at Montserrat College of Art. I love so many parts about that job, but this past year I recently moved to the San Francisco area, and I'm really excited to experience this new chapter of my life. I've wanted to live in California for a long time. Um, Right now, I live and work in my 2-bedroom apartment with my partner, Devin. We have one room designated as our office studio, which is what I'm in right now. Um, we moved in about 4 months ago, so we're still setting up the space, but I'm lucky that I've been able to work in it as I kind of shift and adjust things to fit my needs. My work is really physically rooted in a repetitious but also meditative way of working, where painted marks form patterns that sort of merge and blend, come in and out of focus. I'm also really interested in color theory, almost from a traditional pointillist point of view, where colors mix simply by stacking them on top of each other or applying them in close proximity. Conceptually, I explore love, relationships, but also loss and heartbreak. Really, it's about curiosity about the human experience and trying my best to document it in the most honest way I can.
I'm Morgan. I am an artist and an educator, and I live on the North Shore of Massachusetts, where I've stayed after graduating from Montserrat College of Art in 2013. So I've been here for a really long time, and my life has definitely been in many different phases, but there have been a lot of consistent things. And I think through this project, I'm going to talk about some of those really important, consistent things in my life, but also really want to dive into the change of how everything has been for me through these years, and also what the future is. And so I moved to Gloucester, Massachusetts last year, and I live in this beautiful, tiny little cottage. And before that, I was living in Beverly, where I also have my art studio. And I turned 30 this year, so things have really shifted for me in terms of like my priorities and the understanding that I have of my mental health and my body and just my overall health. So I've learned how to know now I need to give that a lot of my attention. And so I really am excited to kind of talk about those things, how to be the best version of ourselves. And what people know me as is as an artist, as an abstract painter. I primarily am a 2D artist, but I have worked across a variety of different surfaces, whether it's murals or textiles, designs for packaging. But my painting work is what breeds the other things into existence, whether it's collaborating outside in nature, the landscape, or inside my studio. My paintings really explore the subject around color and interaction between pigments appearing like ribbons of shapes that weave in and out of space. And the larger themes that surround my work include recreating or mimicking with paint things, these intimate moments in nature, and they might represent, the moving tide, water hitting the rock, a sheet of ice that's slightly melting. And I really like to explore those little moments in nature through my work. And let's see what else. The larger themes around my work really speak to my personal life and the distance and the togetherness of our relationship to all things. And lately, I've been really trying to learn how to trust myself in all of this and trust the process. I've been a creator for a very long time, and I like to talk about how we've formed our identities around being an artist, whether it's full-time, part-time, sometimes full-time, sometimes part-time, and how we really see ourselves within our work and how we share it with others. I think that it would be cool to talk about why we are getting together for this and what started this, what bred this, and why we have chosen Patreon to in this platform to exist in this way together.
Yeah, so Morgan and I have been meeting weekly for like a year and a half, actually, weekly, and having really amazing conversations. I think initially we wanted to structure them around like the idea of a studio visit, and I think there were a couple that were like very centered around the actual like physical making and the aesthetics of like what our paintings look like, but mostly 99% of the time it's about all the other stuff that comes along with following a creative path and struggling through being existing as an artist. And there have been so many healing conversations for me centered around that specifically. And we, even in the early days, like talked about wanting to share these conversations, hoping that it would bring healing for others and clarity. And, we did one event where we went live on Instagram, and I remember we ended that with a promise that we would do it again really soon. And here we are a year later doing it again, not soon, but I think better than ever before, with more structure and more clarity and with more intention.
Yeah, I agree. There's so much to say, but we are now, when we first began talking, we were able to see each other face to face. You came to my studio and I came to yours, and we were physically able to be surrounded by our work. And that only was a few times before you moved and then the pandemic. So now that we are distance, it's almost, we're much closer than we were even then, because we've been able to maintain this conversation every single week, and it has turned into deeper healing conversations for the both of us, and we've really found a lot of support with each other in our friendship, and it's been a consistent thing for us, almost like therapy. It's every single week, and we, if we miss it, it really changes the week for me personally. And so we really wanted to explore this with other people. I think that our conversations really lay out what we're going through in the moment. And then our conversations really go deeper into why we're feeling that way. So I think we're opening it up for other people to feel like they can relate. While we will share a lot of our rituals and our practice in our creative world, because we are very dedicated to being an artist and being a full-time artist or a part-time artist or anything, this is what we want to do for the rest of our lives. So we will talk about those things, but I also have found so much grounding in where those other conversations take us. So Patreon really seems like the perfect platform where we can put on conversations, we can upload videos of our studio practice, we can invite other people into the conversations with us, we can talk to other artists about their rituals, their practices, their personal lives, you know, what we are really thinking about, and unpacking all of the themes: love, relationships, trauma, childhood, all of the things that make us who we are. And we're not shy about talking about any of that, and with each other. Now, I don't know what it's going to be like when we introduce a broader audience, but I think that we're ready to share it with the world and have other people be involved as well. But one thing that I want to say is that we are not professionals in anything, but we do offer advice to one another, and we think that we'd be able to offer advice to other people as well. I think you and I, Kevin, have spent a lot of our time really dedicated to our mental health. And that is something that takes precedence over everything at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, in the middle of the day. It's just, we always have to check in with ourselves. And that's a really big conversation between the two of us. But we want to offer a space for other people to be able to talk to us, but we are not professionals. So I just need to say that to the world, that we are not professionals.
Exactly. Yeah. We are like knowledgeable in our own way based off our own experience, which is a really weird way of saying like, we are both really dedicated to mindfulness and healing, and on a mental, spiritual, physical way. So those are the conversations that you can expect from us, is a real deep interest and desire to heal, considering like mindfulness and our body and our mind.
We've kept up these conversations in one of the hardest years anyone's ever had to face. The pandemic, our, presidential election, all of the systemic racism that's brought to the surface. I mean, we have really gone through a big year. And what's been helpful for me is to have this compassion, between ourselves and each other. And, we're having these conversations, whether it's based on what's happening in real life or what's happening in a bigger spectrum. Like, I have taken so much comfort from this. We really want to be able to offer the same type of tenderness and love and compassion to other people who might be emerging artists, fellow empaths, fellow deep thinkers, people who are truly doing the work for themselves, but the work could be anything.
We talked a lot about focus, specifically with social media, and why we want to do this on Patreon. Is like, we didn't want this to necessarily be something we put out to just be like scrolled by or to get a like or a comment. It's really not about that at all. And I think if it was, we could record and post these conversations on YouTube or whatever. But what we liked about Patreon was the sense of focus. Like, the people who really want to be in this environment with us have that sense of focus of like, all right, I'm going to actually like kind of tune out everything, and there's nowhere to scroll. Like, you're focused on whatever it is we're posting, whether it's like the studio update vlog or a conversation. It's like you're really present with us, and you're present with us while we're being present with each other and ourselves. So I think that's like a good explanation of why we chose that platform, and also I think why we chose Closer. Like, a big desire from the beginning was to feel closer to each other, but also closer to ourselves. Like
Mm-hmm.
almost every time I've done these weekly meetings with Morgan, I've left feeling like I had a better understanding of myself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the goal, is hopefully to share that with others.
Well, that's really nice of you to say, because I feel the same way. Kevin and I are both Aquarians. We are both cat lovers. We have cats. We're very similar in just though in those ways, but we're also just always on the same page. And we've struggled, I think, if I can say, with social media, and especially through the year that we've had with social media, showing up and trying to be all that you are, expecting this kind of scroll happy, not so friendly algorithm platform. We all know the one. And it's hard to show up personally for me fully and genuinely. I don't know what kind of person I want to be on that app. I don't know, we're such complex humans, and Kevin and I talk about our deep complexities all the time, honoring them, but also talking about how hard it is to break apart every piece of ourselves and expect to be all of one thing and under one platform. Patreon is something that we can use to, that we'll get something back from it. Even if we get 0 subscribers, Kevin and I are showing up every week to talk about all of these subjects, show up in our studio for vlogs. We're showing up for ourselves and our work. So this is in no way for us to gain. It's already a gain. It's already something that's giving back to us in so many ways. And it can become our portfolio for other people to be interested in and to follow and to see this inner world of an artist, but also the inner world of like the real version of who we are. And the vulnerability that I'm able to already produce on this platform versus Instagram is far more healthy. And I think that is a big part of why I think Patreon is going to be a community that's going to give back. There's going to be conversations we have with so many different new people who are really invested in knowing who we are. And that's so special. You and I really, I think, Kevin, have gotten so much in our small communities. Having a community is truly been a part of both of our lives. And so forming a community online was never something I thought that I would be able to do, because I am such a person that I think, well, everyone is a person that needs people in real life, right? We're human. But to have to pivot in this direction of being online, you and I have done it so effortlessly. And I forgot how effortless it can be to have a community online, and show up as our own selves in this on this platform. So that is what I feel about Patreon.
Yes, exactly. Well
Anyways,
said.
yeah.
I wanted to just give a little more history about how we met. I mean, I think we touched on it a little bit, just
Sure.
if we weren't super clear, like Morgan and I initially met, God, I started at Montserrat in 2011. So I remember actually meeting you in 2011. That's how long we've known each other. But we weren't really close in school. I don't think I was really super close to anyone. I was like really, well, a lot of things. Like I was very quiet and social. I just kept to myself, but also I was really focused. Like mostly I remember being in school and like being so dedicated to my painting practice and so focused on it. Um, and but always admiring Morgan, actually, like consistently through the years, and more so when she was a senior, because of course you get to sort of display like your physical studio is on display, and I remember looking at it feeling really captivated by it, because it wasn't just painting And this is how I am as a person anyway. Like I always want to see the stuff. Like I always joke, like I want to see the like dirt piles in the corner and the dead plants and the thriving plants and open sketchbooks, crumpled up pieces of paper. And I saw all that, like a glimpse, not into like the physical thing that was being created, but the act of making and the act of existing, struggling. Like I really felt it seeing that space. And I think you did a really beautiful job at bringing that environment to the gallery, because I also remember being really captivated by your thesis show, which yet again had more than just paintings. There was like installations and environments and things that kind of like drew me in and felt like I could stay a while. Um, and even then, like through you being a senior, graduating, me finishing out my schooling, graduating, we didn't really start to get close, I think, until P-Town. I think we started talking a bit more, obviously, because we were both in Beverly and connecting at Mingo
Yeah.
and things like that. But I remember there was a moment where you had to pick up paintings and I had to drop off paintings in P-Town or something. And we went there together, and it was like this realization that actually as a fan, like you lived up and exceeded all my expectations of who you were as a person. And I always wanted more, like wanted to know you better and be with you more. And we kind of did. Like we went to P-Town a couple more times, and those are really like I really treasure those memories. Um, but it still kind of took a while, right? Like
Yeah.
like, and I don't really know. It was probably me that really like pushed you or verbally like explain my desire to want to meet regularly. And yeah, a year and a half ago, we finally made it happen. These like weekly visits that, yeah, like they started in person. And I think that was really great. But really, it was like a month or two later, we switched to virtual, and it continued to be great. It really did.
Yeah.
And we've kept up with it. So that's a little bit of our history from my point of view.
I love hearing that timeline. And P-Town. I mean, who
Yeah.
knew that was really what bloomed everything? I have this one picture of you in my phone from P-Town of you holding an ice cream cone behind this, like, beautiful green wall of ivy or something that is so P-Town. And I just remember thinking how just like how beautiful you were as a person, and I just needed to capture you in that moment. And I just love that photo so much because it does remind me of the first time we really connected. I mean, we were in a car for three and a half hours, and we made a day trip to P-Town, so that's 6 hours in a car, and we did not stop talking. I mean, never ran out of things to say, always
Yeah.
can piggybacked off of each other's things, like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. It's like, it's just like when you meet someone that you just instantly connect with. And it didn't really reach that point until after years of knowing who each other were. And thank God for Montserrat for connecting us in that way, and our paths crossing because of our dedication to our art and understanding each other through our art. And I love meeting people through their work. I think it's like either can go really, really bad or it can be like this kind of experience where the first time I didn't even really know who you were. I really just knew your work. And because you were younger than me, when you're a senior, you're kind of just really focused on finishing your thesis, researching your thesis. You really don't have time to make any more friends at that point. And I think that's where I was. I mean, I'm a person where I like meeting new people, but at that stage, it was like no more people can enter. I'm focused. I'm drawn to this, and I just do remember Kevin kind of being in my studio at times, or like walking past, and I think you left me a couple of notes even in my studio, just that's what we would do, is just leave each other notes. I think there's a couple of sticky notes you left me about how much you really liked seeing certain things. And that always meant a lot to me, because I'm a person that doesn't ever think I'm producing enough, or I didn't then. I didn't really know who I was. I was really just exploring, and didn't know that that exploration was the beauty of it all. And with your work, I would just see it, just your meditative process felt so captivating to me. And I was like, wow, this person's really going to go far. Like, those are the words that I like felt in my head when I saw your work. I was like, wow, I can't wait to see this boom and explore, and so through the Montserrat auctions and through the years, I would see your work pop up obviously all the time. And then once you started working for the galleries, I would come in and drop off work, we'd talk. We had a similar group of friends, so we would have other people within our circle who knew each other. And so that was something that I always felt really comforted by. Felt like I knew you through other people, but we never really had a chance to connect until that P-Town moment. And we were both at the time being represented by the same store in P-Town on Commercial Street, which is a really huge deal for the both of us. Your work really struck me, and I felt something mostly, once you started talking about love and your project of the love letters. And I, for better or for worse, I've saved all these letters that people have written me through the course of my life, and I was able to give to the project. And you were asking people to send love letters that we've written, letters that we've received, and given it to you. And you base this beautiful project around love. And whether or not that is displayed in my work, it was something that I was deeply, deeply interested in. I don't think I really would have made that connection if it wasn't meeting you. You've offered such a light to me. And so I just really can't wait for we are now pushing each other. We're now accountable for one another. We are moving into the next stage of friendship. And it is really obviously going so well so far.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of nice to have the timeline, because it's a very real, gradual, like, and natural evolution. Like, what we're doing now did not come out of nowhere. It's been building for a long time, and
yeah.
I'm really excited to share this with more people.
Yeah, me too. We're always hoping to learn more from ourselves, and really getting to know who we are as people and being able to share it. You forget the joys and the beauty and the and our spirit gets lost from time to time. And to have a friendship in order, that we can remind each other of each other's light and our spirit, is something that I don't think we take for granted.
That's I think why we have different friends and different relationships and family members that we're close with, is because, like, different people give you different things. And Morgan and I think connect on, like, a greater span of things. And that's what allows, like, a lot of those realizations of, like, things I didn't know about myself. And we said that early on when we started meeting, is like, I really think, I'll be like in my 80s or 90s saying, and still having these realizations, like, oh, I didn't know I was still having trouble being vulnerable. I didn't realize, like, I was having some jealousy issues. Like, we keep wanting to discover ourselves and know ourselves better. I mean, that's the way we thrive, right? Like, only then can you figure out what's holding you back. Can you, like, overcome that stuff? So you've given me that a lot. I mean, sometimes more than, I think even you told me this, like, more than our therapists. Like, like, wow, like, Morgan really sees me on this, like, other, like, sometimes scary level, like, where we're able to, like, we can kind of skip some stuff and just get to the part where like, oh, like, she just kind of knows what needs to happen right now.
we always do that. Anytime we start a conversation, it's not like there's no lack. It's like we just dive right in. like as soon as we see we like open up the screen, and it's not like, oh, how are you doing? How was your day? What did you eat for breakfast? Like none of that. We're just like, and you're like, what? And I'm like, okay, so today there was a time where I would actually meet my therapist the same day I would talk to you. So I don't know whether or not that, like, you know, kind of openness corresponded. You always have a way of opening that space back up for me regardless. And I love how this has just become like a loving ballad for each other.
I think it's important to like give some history and
Me
like
too.
acknowledge everything that's came before this
Yeah.
and like thank each other. And I think it's really wonderful. So I'm glad to share it
Me too.
with not just each other, but you know, the whole world.
Yeah. Yeah. But you and I have also not been like, you know, we leave that day to talk, but we don't really like communicate other outside of like our day. Like we don't like text, or we don't call each other randomly. We don't.
You
Yeah.
know what's crazy? I really haven't thought about it too much. The only thing I can contribute to that thought is like I experience a lot of moments where I think about you or want to share
Yes.
something with you,
Yes.
and I don't.
I know. I do the same thing.
And I'm like, oh, I'll just save it for like
Always
when we,
thinking. Yeah. I
yeah,
know.
I'll just save it for when we meet. So that happens a lot, but I never really think about the why. Like, why don't I do
Mm-hmm.
that?
I don't know why I do either,
Yeah.
because there are things where I'm like, we are still learning from each other. We're constantly learning, like, oh my gosh, you're reading that too, or you're listening to that too, or how come you haven't ever shared this with me before? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and that is like, it's always something like new and exciting, because we do have this similar pattern of communicating with each other.
So what are we missing? I forget. You wanted to talk about
what I really like that we are going to share about our processes and everything that we've developed over this really abruptly new world, is the idea about balance, and that there is none, and time, that it means nothing. And, you know, what really matters is the people that we have, and our practices that we have, and our rituals that we have, and having our own self. And those are the really things that will last forever and ever and ever. And weekly blogs, for instance, we are going to offer a weekly blog for everyone. Both of us, you know, you're going to write a little snippet of your week, what you're listening to, what you're reading, what you're participating in, what you're thinking about, what artists you're looking at. And I'm going to offer the same thing. I'm reading your blog like as if I'm a subscriber. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what Kevin says this week. What did he battle with this week? I want to know. And it's just really cool that we have a chance to have a platform where we can share weekly things, bi-weekly conversations, monthly conversations with artists. Very excited about that. Kevin, you have this whole amazing group of community of artists in which you've built relationships with over time because of your job. And yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah, this past year, of course, like most of this past year, I was the assistant director of the galleries, and like, how do you run a gallery during a pandemic? Well, we did a lot online, and I interviewed a lot of artists and had a lot of great conversations. I think, and of course, I'm really excited to bring that element to our project and share a lot of artists with people. But beyond that, I really would love, you know, there's so many artist interviews out there. There's so many artist interview podcasts. Like, I really would love to peel back, connecting like the impetus for like why we're doing what we're doing. Like, you know, the people we're going to talk with probably already have conversations about their studio practice and what their work looks like and where they're showing and what galleries represent them. Like, I want to know like how they're doing financially. I want to know like what their love life is like. I want to know what it's like to be a mom and a maker. Like, some deeper conversations that reveal more about what it's like to be an artist and a maker and a creative person, or you know what, just a person. Because
Just a person.
I think that's really what I would like to bring with those
Yeah.
monthly like guest artist conversations, and I'm looking forward to those conversations.
So beautifully said. I mean, like we're artists and we basically say the same things over and over again. I'm an artist living on the North Shore. I'm a painter. I also am an educator. I do this and I do that. And it's like, at what point do you kind of just kind of stop doing that and be able to say, yeah, I'm a person. I'm human. I also struggle with this. I also struggle with getting to places on time. I also, it's just really nice to be able to have a platform to be able to ask these questions and to have conversations. Just that's really what it is. And not taking
Yeah.
it so seriously. I mean, the identity that we form around being an artist is so serious. And when you're definitely an emerging artist, you are sacrificing. You're learning that it's a sacrifice, and I love to have conversations around that, like that word. It's like all of these words that are tied to being an artist, like a sacrifice, or you're giving something else up, or you understand that this is a really hard gig, and it's like, okay, well, let's talk about this in a different way. And also, anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I'm really excited about that segment. I'm excited about being able to offer that monthly. And then what else are we doing? What else are we excited
Yeah,
for?
we are also going to be including some advice column. I think bi-weekly we decided. And I think that'll change forms as we go along. Like right now, I'm already writing like a sort of how-to guide to sell your work online. I think most of it will be the questions that um, you know, our subscribers write in, like, what do you want to know? What are you struggling with? Like, we again are not professionals, but we are two really mindful and contemplative individuals, and like we have a lot of experience to share. So we will do our best to give our advice.
Yeah.
What else are we offering?
We are offering, aside from our conversations, we are really, I think one part of me that's really excited is to um, send people little bits of art. And that is if you do subscribe to a $24 tier. Obviously, everyone loves snail mail. It's become a thing again, which is amazing. But to give a piece of art that is like small and intimate and just, I would just love to receive that in my own personal world. And I ordered a t-shirt from you, and you had given me this sweetest little bright pink and green painting, just on a postcard. On the back of it, it literally was a postcard. And I was like, I'm framing this. I'm putting this in a frame and I'm putting it on my wall. This is like a beautiful piece of work. And that was what kind of gave me the idea of like, let's send our subscribers art. Like, let's send it every month. They get something different. One month they get something from you. One month they get something from me. And that continues back and forth. Really excited for that.
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm excited to give something physical. I think it's the only physical thing we're offering. And I think that's a really
Yeah.
exciting thing. I think more digital things we are, I think for the $12 tier, we're going to be doing these texts. So,
Oh yeah.
one week will be for Morgan, 1 week will be for me, and kind of a little bit of an extension of the blogs. Like they're just going to be little insights, quotes, like it might be links to things, it might be, a little like update. I think we want to keep those very different from the studio vlogs and the written blogs, but very connected. Another little something that will be hopefully really exciting to get in text message form.
It's nice to get a text that's loving and tender and something sweet. Another thing that I am really actually learning to love is these video updates of our studio practice individually. And editing anything has never been a part of my life. And learning this editing videos on my phone is either really great or dangerous for the rest of everyone else. But being able to like be in my studio and talk about how I'm feeling, projects I'm working on every single week, it's like already what I've learned so much about myself, you know, in that process of recording, how I view myself, how I view my work, and how I share it with the world, and how I share myself with the world. And all of this is something that we want to be super open and vulnerable about, right? And these videos are all about, yes, showing you what we're doing in our studio 100%, but also, like you said, peeling back the layers of like how we're really feeling about that day in the studio. You know, are we
Yeah.
feeling, yeah,
Yeah.
are we, yeah.
I've never seen an artist share that. Like, I've never seen an artist do that. Like, really document and record not just the act of making, but how they feel
Yeah.
and what's coming up. Like, I just can't imagine. There's so much that's lost when all you're seeing is the physical objects that they're making. Like,
Yeah.
I am glued to my screen when I see Morgan's vlogs. I'm like, oh my god! Like, I didn't even realize the painting was like on the ground like that. I didn't realize the paint was like. There's just a lot of magic about like seeing, kind of feeling like you're there
Mm-hmm.
with you,
Yeah.
that I'm excited to witness from you, and also experience for myself. Like, you know, what exactly do I want to document this week? What am I working on? What do I want to show? How do I want to talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because these mostly are all things I've never done before, I've never shared. And I think though that part, I mean, aside from our weekly conversations, that's gonna be my favorite component to this whole thing, because
Mm-hmm.
it's challenging for me and exciting for me,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully for the viewers.
I think, yeah, what you said, you've never seen an artist do this. And you know, there's always artists out there, and I'm not really a big streamer. I don't watch YouTube, a lot of YouTube videos or tutorials, or you know, I'm not really plugged in. So I actually kind of like this raw unknowing of what people really are interested in and what people aren't, because I'm just kind of focusing on what I would be interested in, and so are you. And that's kind of coming from a real genuine place where it's we're always trying to market ourselves. I mean, this is, artists are like, you know, let's show the best thing we've done every single time on Instagram. Every single time we open up our phone, let's share the most beautiful. And I obviously follow a lot of artists that don't do that, you know, and that capture many different forms of who they are. And I am so envious of that. And it's not something that I've been able to really emulate as much. And using this as a recording videos every single week, there's absolutely no way anything can be polished at anything at any level, right? It's the real moment of, maybe it's 5 o'clock after I've worked all day, you know, doing something else, and I'm tired and I don't really feel like doing the video, but that is the moment that I want to bring to life. And I think it's super relatable. You know, we're really hardworking people. We can't really live in this America without feeling that, you know, go 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 energy, but also really stripping away like all of the facets of showing ourselves in one light and one way, and being able to really have a genuine experience with everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
um, that's probably going to be my favorite component to the whole thing. I
Yeah.
think, what else are we missing? We are also going to be going live once a month, and I think that will be connected to like our conversations, but we want a chance to really feel like present with people. I think that's like, you know, the whole
Yeah.
point of being live, and answer questions and talk about things in the moment. It'll be the only opportunity for that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important to have that.
Yeah.
We are also, for one of the tiers, we're offering critique. So,
Mm,
I think especially now when it's so hard to like have physical studio visits and we make excuses, right? Like, does anyone really want to do like a Zoom like critique group? It's so hard. Like things get lost. And this is an opportunity, like if you're working on a proposal, like a painting in progress, like writing, even like, a resume or something, like we're happy to take a look at it and give feedback. So hopefully that'll be really helpful.
yeah, love that. Opening up those segments for like that live opportunity is going to be like really interesting and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a
Yeah.
lot of like questions. I mean, at least I do. I get a lot of questions about like my process and what I'm doing with this and what I'm doing with that. And I just don't really feel like typing that out every single time I get a question online. I'm just um, trying to really not be super tied to that my phone. Do not disturb is a big button that I use when I'm trying to work in the studio. And it doesn't really offer anyone to really know what I'm doing. So this is a good way, and same for you, for people to ask questions and get to know us.
And this keeps it, private if you want it to be private. Like, you're just going to send us
Yeah.
whatever the thing that you're
Yes.
working on, and we'll, send you a video with feedback, and
Hmm.
that'll be that. I think eventually down the line, like, I would love, if there's enough people in that particular tier to actually try and start like a real critique group. And
Yeah.
so it wouldn't just be us giving you feedback, it would be the other
Yes.
people in that tier who are wanting feedback, but also wanting to give feedback. So
Exactly. Yeah. And we
hopefully
were,
down the line, we'll incorporate that.
yeah, we were, Kevin, you and I were talking about how are we going to, um, how are we going to like, we have like so many ideas and so much we want to do, and we can't really offer so much in all these tiers. We have to use the platform in another way. Like we can offer workshops and we can offer exclusive opportunities.
The last thing that
Yep.
we'll be offering in the tier, which is sort of a big one, but something to look forward to,
Yeah.
which is some workshops and like discounts to workshops if you're a subscriber. So, just echoing what Morgan said, like we have a lot of experience. Like I have a lot of experience curating. I would love to lead like a workshop about that.
Mhm.
We do want to develop some workshops in addition to this particular project on Patreon that are a little more intensive and detailed, kind of focusing on one particular thing that we're quote unquote expert in.
Yep. Yep. You have more
Yeah,
experience in one thing where I have more experience in another. So we balance each other out really nicely. And we
yeah.
just hope everyone gets the chance to um, experience this with us, this crazy, wild world. But I think, like, overall, very excited to just have these conversations with you, right? Like, we can offer so much to other people with just having a conversation about risk, having a conversation about self-care, having a conversation around loneliness, um, being vulnerable, all of these things that you might listen to on your daily podcasts or um, on in books and writings and essays. I'm just really excited to ask more questions and say, and even have really conversations related around my cat was being so well behaved until now.
Well, he's just really excited about this.
He is. He's like, meow, tell me more.
I think we're at the end,
Yeah.
and there's not much left to say. That's it.
Mm, yes. There's so much more to be revealed and uncovered. It's like we're just ready to do something different. We're ready to start a project. We're ready to like find ourselves doing something different, and taking action towards something that we've probably been building for like more than 1 year. We have a lot in us.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope people subscribe if you're listening. This is a chance to not just witness what we're doing, but feel like you're participating in it. So I hope that's enough to draw you in.
So well said.
Until next week.
Until next week.